Hey friend, I'm Danielle Damrell, and I am so grateful that you're listening to the Created Worthy podcast. This show is all about honoring the life stories of women from different ages, beliefs, backgrounds, and experiences. Everyone's got a story, and instead of getting stuck in the trap of unworthiness, this is a safe place for stories to be shared. On this show, we chat about the transformative power of creative processing too, and how we can utilize our God-given creativity with intention to heal, grow, find joy, create simplicity in the midst of our chaotic lives. So pull up a seat at our table because we are all created worthy. Hello, welcome back to the Created Worthy podcast. Today, I am joined by another worthy warrior, Julie Kober. Julie is a former Fortune 100 Chief Human Resources Officer and now the CEO and founder of Legacy Leadership Academy for Women. After 28 years of a very rewarding and demanding career, Julie made a deeply personal decision to leave her corporate job and follow her dreams. A dream that now affords her the time freedom to continue her love of coaching and mentoring leaders to success and be there with her family. She is a certified master leadership coach with focus on managing your mindset to build the business and career of your dreams. It is through the immense growth and overwhelming challenges Julie herself has conquered that now allow her to lead, guide, and mentor other women in building legacy, building authentic lives, and living all out on their terms. Outside of the work Julie does to coach and mentor her clients, you will find her spending time with her family and likely somewhere outdoors, either hiking or golfing. Although she wasn't always, she is now diligent about balance and ensuring she is living her life from a heart-centered 360-degree approach. I have had the absolute honor and opportunity to get to know Julie over the course of this year, as she was another one of the incredible authors of the book Living All Out. The moment I met Julie, I was fascinated by her work. And throughout this year of working together and processing her life story in writing, I have just come to love everything about this woman. She is exactly who she says she is, and she has lived through many challenges that now inform the way she leads and the wisdom that she shares. My friend, I am so excited that you are joining us here on the Created Worthy podcast. I can't wait for my listeners to hear even more about your real life story.
No, I'm so excited too to be here. I've been waiting for this day for a while. I just love you too.
I know. I love you. I can't wait to talk this out, talk your life story out. And one of my favorite things about interviewing, you're, I think, the fourth Living All Out author that we've had on this season. And what has been so amazing about these conversations is that you guys actually have some clarity about your life story and who you are and how that impacts what you're doing today. And sometimes you don't realize that. Oh, but sometimes
you're so helpful.
Sometimes we don't realize that the work that you're doing, you know, when you're in the grind of writing a book or doing any kind of coaching, it's kind of like you're in that day to day. Okay, I have to get this done. I have to get this done. I have to answer this question. I have to answer this question. And then it's in reflection that you're like, whoa, I actually figured out the puzzle pieces. I've connected a lot of those dots. And then you speak more confidently about who you are and what you come through and how that helps other people. So just to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from and paint us a picture of your life growing up?
Sure. So I live in a town called Newmarket, Ontario, in Canada. So I live probably as the crow flies, about 45 minutes north of Toronto. So I'm, it takes me about an hour and a half to get to Buffalo.
Okay.
For all our American partners, right? Yes. So I grew up in Canada. I've lived where I am now my whole life outside of 8 years, where my husband and I picked up on an adventure and we moved to Calgary, Alberta, when we were no kids, just newly married, for a job that I was in, a job that I loved, a company that I worked in where I built a lot of my career. Yeah, so we moved out west. It was a huge adventure. I call it God's country. It's the Rocky Mountains. Both my children were
Yes.
born out there. So we lived out there for 8 years and then we came back here because we wanted to be close to family. And yeah, so most of my life has been in this area. I grew up kind of like regular middle class family. My mom stayed home. My dad worked. I have two older brothers. I'm the baby. We lived in a really nice neighborhood and yeah, just kind of average, happy, relatively,
Yeah.
as we can all say, childhood. And yeah, just went off to university, got my degree in psychology. I did a minor in business and went on and did some postgraduate work and then just started my career. Went right out of my school into an HR role, junior HR role, and I just climbed my mountain for after
Wow.
28 years in corporate.
Whoa. So what was your official role in corporate? Like, what did you start as?
My first role was called a human resources generalist.
Okay.
And so it was entry level, all the, admin roles in HR and great job. Like it's funny, when I was in my postgraduate program, this woman came into our class one day and this was a special program. Like now you can take HR at university level. When I went, that you couldn't. There wasn't an HR program in university per se. So there was this postgraduate 1 year program. So you could either go right from university into this program or you could have worked for a certain amount of years. So we had a combo of students and people who had worked. Anyway, this woman walks in and she's like, "We just got this job for our board." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like nobody in the whole class. They're like, "No, that doesn't sound good. No, that I don't think I like that industry." I'm like, "Are you crazy?" So I was the only one who applied for it and of course got it. And that
Yeah.
started my career. And I thought, wow, like, why are you being so picky? You got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Anyway, it
that's
ended
so
up being a
true.
great job. And it just grew from there. I knew very, very early in my career where I wanted to end. I knew what my end
Okay.
state was going to be.
Yeah. Did
And
you have a
work,
vision or how did you know you had a
I had a
vision?
vision. I have been and am very driven. I just knew I had goals and people ask me all the time. I was promoted to vice president of human resources when I was 31. And so
Wow.
people ask me all the time, like, "Julie, how did you get there? Like, what did you do? What programs are you taking? What school, where did you go to school? What, all the, what did you do? And I said,
Yeah.
that's the wrong question. You need to be
Who
asking
are
me
you?
who I was being because
Hmm.
who I was being, I got some advice early in my career, which has been so helpful. And this is what I teach now is I went in and I remember talking to one of the leaders and I said, I want to become a director. How do I become a director? And he said to me, you're asking the wrong question. Go out and
Mm.
talk to all the directors in the company and ask them who they're being. I'm like, what do you mean who they're being? Right. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm very coachable. So I went out and did that. And they're all like, what do you mean? Who am I being? And a few of them answered me who they
Yeah.
actually show up as every single day. So I went back and I said, this is what they told me. He's like, okay, be her now. This was like 20 some odd years ago, 25 years ago.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. So I just started acting like an executive when I was in a very junior role.
Yeah. It's almost like the like dress for the job you want, not for the job you have concept, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing. So yeah, I just knew that I wanted to be in the C-suite, a chief. So I started acting like a chief when I was a frontline manager. I
Yeah.
think I was over the top for a lot of people, but
You're like, I am a
yeah, well,
leader.
I had big budgets and I made these business plans and they're like, wow, Julie, okay, that's great. Like not necessary, but great. I'm like, well, this is what I was told to do. So I'm doing
Yeah.
it.
So do you feel like you said you were the youngest, right?
Yeah.
So do you feel like you've always been a leader by nature?
Yes. So my mom would tell you I was born a leader. So my oldest brother is 5 years older than me, and my next brother's 4 years older than me. My oldest brother and I had a very volatile relationship my whole life. Um, and he's had a lot of trouble. And I understand why now. As I've grown in my own coaching business and what I teach now, I totally have empathy. I never would have ever thought there would be a day that I would say I'd empathize with my brother because there was many years of my life I hated him because he
Mhm.
was verbally abusive to me. I was the youngest, picked on all the things. but it was him. It was his pain that he was just
Mm.
projecting. I get that
Yeah.
now, but yeah, him, I just actually came to this epiphany not that long ago, like since you and I have known each other, that the way he was to me had to happen. So my number one value, one thing I do with my clients all the time is we work on what do you value? My number one value, hands down, is kindness. I was
Mm.
put on this earth to spread kindness. I know that that's my purpose. And I could not do what I'm doing today. And I could not understand that value to the depth that I do if my brother had not treated me the way, because it was the opposite, right? Of kindness. And that's where I learned the laws of the law of polarity, or the law of opposites. It's like I needed to go through what he put me through so that I can do what I do today.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which,
so, that experience with him has made me a leader. My mom, I love my mom to death. She's 85 years old, almost 86. And I don't know if you or your listeners ever have watched Grace and Frankie.
yes.
My mother is Frankie. My mother is Frankie. She's an artist. I'm not sure if she ever smoked pot, but she might have. I don't know.
Maybe.
Just like some nights we had dinner, some nights we didn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes we did the laundry, sometimes we did. She's the most beautiful spiritual soul,
Yeah.
but she's flighty. And I tell her that. And so I think having her as my mother I had to be a leader. I
Right.
had to take over some things in the house, or else, we didn't have clothes to go to school, and
Right.
not because she was in a bad space. It's
Neglectful.
just who she
Yeah.
was, who
Yeah.
she is. Right. And now I was very angry at that for a long time, because I'm like, why? I'm a kid. I actually had to be more the mom in a lot of our relationship growing up. So I've had a lot of anger around that, but I've healed that. I've
Mm-hmm.
healed that now. And I realize that's just who my mom was. That's who
Mm-hmm.
she is. She is simply just not capable of being the person I thought I wanted her to be.
Yep.
But now in my growth and my expansion, I realize too now that I couldn't be the leader I am today if my mom wasn't the way she was.
Exactly.
And she told me, she'll tell you I was born a leader. She'll tell you the minute I came out, I was leading, leading stuff. So I do believe it's innate in me. I believe that leadership can be learned, and you can develop the skill. But I do also believe the best leaders in the world, there is a little bit of innateness in them. That's why it
Yeah.
comes easy to them, right?
Yes. Yes. I love that. And I love that you brought up the fact that, like, for a long time, you were angry with your mom and your brother. But the redemption didn't come from them changing. It came
No.
from you having an epiphany, or you realizing that without them being who they are, you wouldn't have been able to become who you are. And so
Yeah.
there's divine purpose in that, right? Like there is
Yeah.
absolutely um a reason that you were born into that family. And I think
Yes.
that's something that a lot of, especially people who are maybe in their 20s, early 20s, even through 30s, are in this season of the anger, right? Like
Mhm.
you're working through the trauma for the first time. You're finally an adult. You're finally like getting some um stand you're standing some ground in your career. You're starting to go in a direction, and but you have depression, or you're facing something that just makes you feel like you're being held back. And so
Yeah.
for a lot of people, you start into therapy, or you start in different programs, you start working with coaches, and you realize, oh my gosh, a lot of this is due to childhood trauma.
Yes.
And although I 100% agree with that, and I myself have gone through that season, I think I'm kind of on the, not to say that another wave of that won't come, where I'm
Mhm.
grieving and continuing to learn and work through the trauma of my past, but I'm kind of on this other side of the like pain of it and being angry about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And um a lot of that has come from the same realization that you had, that, oh my gosh, like, although I wouldn't have wanted my childhood to be the way it was, if I didn't have the childhood I had, I would not be where I'm at today. And I'm so abundantly grateful for where I'm at today and for the leadership opportunities I have today and for connections and
Mm-hmm.
conversations like what we're having right now,
Mm-hmm.
simply because I was able to gain that understanding and wisdom a little bit earlier than a lot of people my age.
Mm-hmm.
But I think no matter how old you are, like that is something that if you are going to end up walking forward and finding a sense of freedom, whether that's in your time or mentality or even just peace, experiencing peace and joy and all the good things, assurance, being fulfilled, all of those things come when you are able to not hold the anger anymore, but release it and put it where it is and just be who you are created to be. And that's
Right.
what Created Worthy is all about, is like, hey, sometimes our stories are messy. Sometimes like we have to go through the trenches to get to where we're at. And some people that come on here are still very much in the trenches. But that
Yeah. Oh,
no
yeah.
matter where you're at
Well,
on the
peaks and
journey.
valleys,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yes, those
Mm-hmm.
valleys and mountaintops, all of the different seasons
I
of
always
life, they
wonder
don't
too,
stop.
who said that it was all going to be easy, right? Like
Nobody.
nobody said that. So I don't know why we think it. And I like what I teach my clients is listen, here's the thing, and this is my belief. People can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
I believe with every fiber in my being is whatever you believe to be true will be your truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So nobody said that this was all going to be easy. And you cannot have. So I just read something the other day that was so powerful for me. When you set a goal and you want to achieve something, so you've got it and it drops into your body and you're doing it and the blinders are on and it is happening. It's not a thought. It's not, oh, that would be great one day. No, this is happening kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The minute you get into that energy, the opposite of what you want comes to you right away,
Mm.
because you can't achieve that thing that you think you want, that's crossed your mind, until you know the opposite of it. That's why
Mm.
when we go after
Wow.
goals and they're big enough goals that make us grow, it feels frustrating some days, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
And so
why am I not making
uncomfortable.
enough money? Why is my business not doing this? What? Because you need to feel that before you can because if you didn't feel that, you wouldn't know that you've achieved and you've
Right.
arrived. Again, it's
100%.
the law of opposites, right? And
Yeah.
what this author said was, when you feel frustrated,
Yeah.
embrace it, because that means you're
Mm.
closer to
I'm
what it
writing
is you
that down.
want. I was like, wow, it was one of those moments, I was reading in bed and I sat up and went, oh my gosh, because I had been frustrated in my business for a couple of weeks. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm choosing to believe now that this frustration is moving me closer to what I want,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I can
And
believe
then
whatever I want.
exactly. And it does come down to choice. Like, are you going to take that as a sign that you're not supposed to do the thing that you've set your mind to? Or are you going to take that as a sign that you are exactly on the path to achieve the thing that you've been called to? And
And
that
nobody said it was going to be easy.
And nobody said it was going to be easy. You're so right. And I do think that even just from a cultural perspective, and I don't know if this is just, I haven't been out of the country enough. I do hope and pray that I will more. And I want to learn a ton more about other cultures. But in American culture, it seems like there's almost this, it's, it's kind of a dichotomy of sorts where there is an expectation, maybe a subconscious expectation that it is supposed to be easy,
Mm,
while also there's this like underlying theme in our culture that if it's easy, then everything's been handed to you. And it's like nothing is easy for anyone ever, first of all. And
no.
second, there is um ever because everybody's journey looks different,
Mm-hmm.
because we all haven't been, the truth is we haven't been promised an easy life. That means that we have to decide what uncomfortable path we want to take towards healing, because healing in itself, or finding direction or purpose, is going to be uncomfortable just simply by the nature of life, of how life goes.
Yeah.
um so yeah,
You
that
could
that
unpack that. Oh my gosh, so
I
much to
know.
unpack there. Like from a brain science perspective, this is the way
Yes,
our
tell
brain
me.
works, right? So your brain does not, or your unconscious, subconscious, however you define it, mind, its job is to keep you alive, period. That's why you don't have to worry about your heart beating. You don't have to remember to breathe, all the things, right? That whole system goes, okay, we need to keep Danielle alive. So when you get into an uncomfortable situation, meaning uncomfortable means because your subconscious mind is your feeling mind, right? This is your feeling body. So when you're uncomfortable, you're feeling a certain way, anxiety, doubt, limiting beliefs, stress. Your your unconscious mind goes, oh, hang on. Oh gosh, red alert. We're not it doesn't know because it doesn't have a mind, a brain, the thinking brain.
Right.
It doesn't know whether you are running from a saber-toothed tiger or you are about to do a launch in your business and you've never done that before. It goes, uh-oh, she's feeling this way. Move her on back to the comfort zone. The comfort zone in your subconscious mind means keeping you alive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
fear is a superpower. The top leaders in the world use it as a superpower because they know, first of all, they feel their fear and they go, okay, where is this coming from? Is this actually a soul-based fear that I need to pay attention to? Like I'm being chased by a tiger, so I better run and get out of here? Or is this just we call it in my business, our noisy roommate? Is this just my noisy roommate telling me, you're not good enough to do that launch? Nobody's going to come. Nobody wants to hire you. Right. So once you figure out where the fear is coming from, the one from your noisy roommate, you need to run through that, baby. You need to feel it and do it anyway, because the freedom that you want is on the other side of that fear.
Yeah.
And you're not going to die if your launch bombs.
No.
You're going to feel crappy, but you're not going to die.
Yeah.
Whereas if the tiger gets to you, you might. So you better run. Right.
Right.
So there's yeah. And the other thing that you said that I was thinking, I was in corporate for 28 years. I climbed the top of my mountain. We use mountain as a metaphor in all my business. I got to the summit. I said I wanted to be a chief human resource officer. I did. I made it there. I got to the top of that mountain, looked around and said, the view is not great up here. It's lonely. I was often one of the only or one of a few women. It's toxic. There's so much that's not what I thought it would be up there. But for 28 years, I had the belief that you need to, back to the American culture that you mentioned, I could have fit into the US in a nanosecond. I had the belief, which I adopted from my dad, you have to work really hard and really long and make a lot of sacrifices to be successful. Well, that is exactly what happened for 28 years in my business, in my career. I have a picture on my desk here. This is my daughter. She's 25 years old now. This is her first day of school. This picture sits on my desk because I missed it. My husband had the wherewithal to take this picture, and only in the last couple of months can I look at it and not cry. It is a reminder to me that I sacrificed many things in my children's life for this big career that I thought I wanted, right? Because I believed it. I believed you have to make sacrifices to be successful. But now I've changed it. I decided in a day to believe I can build a multi-million-dollar coaching business with ease and flow and effortly.
So let's.
And I'm choosing to believe that. Do I have days I'm frustrated? Yeah, but it's okay. And so I suffered and had made sacrifices because that's what I believed. And now I'm choosing to believe something else. And everything you want in your life comes down to what you believe. And most of our beliefs, unfortunately, are unconscious. So that's the work, is to bring them up to the conscious and go, is this serving me? No, this belief is not serving me anymore. I'm getting rid of it. I'm replacing it because I can, because like you said, we have choice.
Yes.
So in the American culture, it's very much like success, achievement,
but also,
get to the top of your mountain.
You are unworthy.
Yes. If you're not up with the Joneses.
Yeah. Well, and even when you're up with the Joneses, I feel like I've heard so many stories like yours where it's been like, okay, I climbed my way to the top of my company, and then I was told, oh, you're a woman who's pregnant. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 We
go.
don't need you
Like,
anymore. I always say to people now, kids that are coming out and wanting, a lot of my nieces and nephews call me, and I'm like, here's my advice to them today. There's a lot of goodness in corporate. There really is. There are employers, there's great
yeah.
managers out there. There's a lot of not greatness as well. But here's the thing, you need to go in knowing you are a commodity, right? The relationship is you do work, they pay you. That is it. Because they'll need you until they don't need you anymore. And that's just the way corporate in North America has gone, especially if you're publicly traded, right? Like you're all at the mercy of the shareholders and the bottom line and the quarters. And I mean, we have banks here in Canada. We have 5 large banks that make billions in profit every quarter, and they are laying off people left, right, and center all the time. Because if they don't make the target that they set, even though it might be, maybe they make 1.7 billion versus 1.8, they lay off a bunch of people, which is just absurd to me. But anyway, that's just the way it works. So you can go into corporate, but just don't get attached. Don't get attached, because you might get laid off.
There's different types of people too. Like, I have had this conversation with my husband where it's been like, for me, I do find purpose in the work of my hands and my heart, right? Like, I can't disconnect those things. It's just innately in who I am. I know that if I am working and serving and I'm helping and I'm speaking and I'm doing all, like, I am walking in the call that God has for me. My husband, he's like, I go to work for a paycheck and then I leave that there. And that is enough. Like, his purpose is not at all tied to his work, which I think is great. Like, he would not do well as an entrepreneur.
Right. Exactly. So he's got it great. Exactly. He can go to work, get a paycheck, and then go do something that he loves.
Yeah.
Maybe
but if you have that desire,
music.
If you have that desire to, create purpose through the work of your hands, not to say that there aren't certain jobs in corporate that are, purpose filled. The work that you're doing does, help or serve, but the actual heart behind it of your purpose being tied to what you're actually doing, if that is a core desire of yours, then you have to make choices that get you to that place. So I would love to go back for a few minutes and just talk about that transition from, you are at the top of that mountaintop, you are looking around, you are like, this sucks, this is toxic, and this is so not bad. What I signed up for. I have not been working for 28 years to get here. What did you do? How did you have that realization first? And then tell us what you did.
Well, actually, it's interesting that you say that. So this is an exercise of listening to your soul versus your noisy roommate, right? And so that's like the base of my coaching program now. For 14 years, my soul was screaming at me, you are not on the right path. You're climbing this mountain. This is not your journey. And I just wasn't listening. And I know now that the whole reason I did my climb was to get the approval of my father. So that's the other belief that I had from what I observed as a child, is that you need to be successful and make a lot of money to be loved. It's the interpretation I took as a child. If you weren't in this sort of box that my dad wanted you in, like a university educated, on the corporate climb, all the things I did, I felt, obviously as a child, fear that I would be what I call kicked to the curb. He wouldn't have a use for us. And I saw that with my older brother, which, interestingly enough, we had this volatile relationship. Anyway.
Yeah.
And I was climbing this mountain going, I'm not doing this for me. This isn't even for me. I don't want this. So really, 14 years, my soul was screaming, get off this mountain. And I was too afraid to do it. I did it when my dad died.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I did it. I finally went out, like left corporate. Like my dad, to share with you, and I love my dad dearly, but my dad was in palliative care, telling all the nurses in palliative care, oh, here's my daughter. She's a chief human resource officer. My poor brothers would come in the room and he wouldn't even acknowledge them. So I hated it. And I'm like, you know what, Dad, that's not me. That's my job. Like he identified me with my job.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I got the attention that I so desperately wanted.
Yeah.
So I started playing around with network marketing and doing things differently when my dad was still alive, but ill. And even that, he was okay receptive, but a little frosty, right? It was just dangerous territory for me.
Yeah.
And then when he passed, I'm like, F it.
Yeah.
Peace
I'm out
out.
of here.
Out of here. And it was a little bit after that. He passed in 2018. I decided finally at the end of 2019. But to answer your question, when I first was leaving and left, I used to describe my 28 years as the mistake, like climbing the wrong mountain. Now, I did not climb the wrong mountain. That was my journey. That was meant to be.
Yeah.
It brought me to who I am today. There were so many beautiful moments in it. It provided for my family. So now my metaphor is I've just jumped to a new mountain.
Mm-hmm.
I've jumped to my mountain. That was my dad's mountain that he lived vicariously through me. And now I'm on my mountain doing what I'm purposely meant to do. And when I was trying to figure out, well, what would I do? Right. Because your identity is so tied to this big career and the money and all the things. My husband finally said to me one day, he said, well, what do you love? What did you love about your job? And I sat there and I said, I love helping people. That is my purpose. That is why I'm on this earth. I loved watching women on my team soar up the ranks, either on my team or go to another company and do whatever. Some of them left and started their own jobs, or their own businesses, but just being in that state where they know they're doing what they're meant to do. So he's like, okay, we'll go do that. I'm like, okay. So I started this coaching business. At first, it was one-on-one coaching. And I got a lot of clients right away from women that I worked with. They're like, oh my God, she's coaching. I got to, because they all hated their jobs in corporate. And then I thought, this is beautiful.
Which
and great.
I just have to point out, like, if you hadn't climbed that other mountain, you wouldn't have had those people.
Yeah. Exactly. I was surprised. Like I had a full roster right out of the gate because these women knew they'd already worked with me, right?
They were waiting for the leader to step up.
Right. So I worked with them and then I thought, okay, this is beautiful, but it's difficult because you can't scale it. And two, it's very time consuming, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, hang on. I left corporate to have a little more time freedom. It was quickly becoming that again in terms of time freedom. So then I launched my group coaching program. That's when I launched my academy. I actually, surprisingly enough, kind of universe kind of thing. When I did my first launch, and I didn't plan this at all. I didn't even realize it until actually, and I had to the day of, and it took everything in me not to be bawling my eyes out on my first launch. But on open cart day, which is Thursday, was my dad had passed, but it was his birthday. Oh. And I took that as a sign that he's an approval and he loves what I'm doing and he's so happy for me. And I was like, whoa, when I looked at the date, I'm like, oh my God, this would have been my dad. I think it was going to be his 90th birthday. Wow. Yeah, it was really powerful. So anyway.
Was that this year?
No, it was last year.
Okay.
So I've been in the group and building the academy for a year and a half now. So I still hold 5 spots for one-on-one because that's really near and dear to my heart.
Right.
And we've also opened up a membership because the people who graduate from the academy go, I don't want to leave this material. I don't want to leave your leadership. So we created a membership that they can stay in that doesn't take as much time. So yeah, it's been great and it's been frustrating and it's been hard and it's been easy and it's been all the things. It's been everything it's meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
but I'm helping women.
You're doing it.
You know what I love? And I think that's why you and I connected so much. The purpose of what I'm doing now is I want to help women heal their hearts and be a leader of themselves so that they can transfer that to their children first. I don't want children to have to heal from their childhood like we did, right? So if I can heal their hearts and move these women into things they love to do, they jump out of bed every day to build this business they love, and like you said, work with their hands and their hearts and all of that, then that's going to transfer to their children.
Yeah.
First.
Exactly.
And then, like when we're happy, everybody's happy. I don't want
That's
people to
right.
wake up and have to drag themselves to work and deal with toxicity and all the things. I mean, where I live in Canada, we're now the only city in North America that's worse for traffic is LA. It's like a 2-hour commute
What?
from Toronto. Because we don't have proper transit. It's all
Oh
highways, and it's so,
my
yeah,
gosh.
like all,
That sounds miserable.
imagine driving to work 2 hours one way, trying to
That
get
sounds
home, get the
horrible.
supper on table, get the kid, anyway. So if I can just help people awaken to what they really want
Yeah.
and know, like what we do in the academy really is that we teach people that the impossible is possible. You can do whatever it is you want to do.
Mm.
You really can. And I know, because I said, again, when I was leaving and deciding to leave, I was in such turmoil because I felt completely trapped, because I was the primary income earner. I was sitting in this office one day looking out the window going, well, what would I do for benefits? Benefits was stopping me. I'm
Yeah.
like,
I honestly, that's a real thing. I know a
I
lot of
know.
people who are like, I can't become an entrepreneur because I wouldn't have any benefits.
Right. And now when you are an entrepreneur, like I pay the dentist directly. I can get benefits too as an entrepreneur, that I found out. So we are actually going to do that because my husband's an entrepreneur too. But I'm not a huge user. But if I need new glasses, I just go pay for them. And as an HR executive, I actually did the math with all the premiums that I had to pay as an employee. It's actually more than what I pay directly now as an entrepreneur.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's never as bad as we make it out to be in our heads, right?
Yeah.
There's
Well, and
always a
there's always,
solution.
that's exactly what I was going to say. There's always a solution. Like if you
Always.
want something, if you feel called to something, the solution is there. You just
Yeah,
have to find
do
it.
you have to make a plan? Absolutely, especially if you're leaving a lucrative position in corporate and you're wanting to start your own business. I mean, you can't just not pay the bills. We get that.
Right.
But there's always a plan you can put in place.
No, for sure. For sure. So when you did finally make that transition completely from corporate to coaching full time, I know that there had to have been some valleys that you were walking through as well, because it's never just like hopping straight from one good
Oh
season to a
gosh,
next.
no. No, you're right. Actually, I did think kind of arrogantly, I would say, there was probably my ego saying, okay, well, I'm a leader. I'm a really strong leader. And I've been in business for 28 years. I can put a strategy together like no other, all the things. I'll just hang out my shingle and become a coach. And the coaching piece, yeah, I have that down pat. I've been doing that for 28 years, but the running of the business. So the
Whole
first six
different
to nine
thing.
months was rocky. And I kept thinking, what is wrong? I must have said to myself, at first it had to be 100 times a day, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? Like left this multiple 6-figure income, benefits, pension, bonuses, all the things, a paycheck every 2 weeks, to like, okay, when am I going to get paid? And how do I do this? And what's an email funnel? Stuff, right? Like I
Yes.
was in HR, I wasn't in marketing.
Right.
So I thought, I have to go back to corporate. Oh my God, what have I done? And so finally, my husband, at about month 6, he said to me, he's an entrepreneur and he has been for 20 years. He's like, you got to make a decision, my friend. You have a foot in either world. You have not shut the back door. And if you want to be an entrepreneur and have a successful business, you got to shut that back door and decide what world you're getting into. Because I was being so cautious and safe because maybe I'll have to go back to corporate. He goes, you have to go back if you want to. I'm like, no, I don't want. He's like, well, stop saying that. And what I realized when I'm like, okay, what is wrong here? What am I not doing right? I finally realized I was trying to run my business as an employee, as an executive which is an employee. And it was a disaster. You can't run that way. We don't work Monday to Friday as entrepreneurs. We maybe have to do some stuff on the weekends, especially when you start out, you do what needs to get done. Right. But you also have all this flexibility. If you need to take Tuesday afternoon to go to the dentist, you can. but I just had to change my identity.
Mm-hmm.
So once I realized, okay, what's the identity of a successful entrepreneur? That's when things started to take off.
Yeah. I'm
I
sure that
stopped
it
trying
kind
to
of,
stop being an employee, because employees, yeah, we're executives and we work hard, but we're employees.
yeah,
We're not invested the same way
right. It's not
as you are.
yours. Yeah,
No, it's not mine. Exactly.
right.
So once you realize, okay, here's the leadership traits and characteristics as of an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur. Here's the mindset of an entrepreneur. That's when I realized, okay. And that's what we teach now too. At first, I dealt with my ideal client were people from corporate. Now I work with entrepreneurs doing exactly this, because you know what? There's two sides. Like in terms of business success, this is what I believe. There's a business success coin, and there's two sides to the coin. One side is strategy. You absolutely have to have a business plan and a business strategy, and you need to know your numbers and all the things. That's easy. That's the easy part for as far as I'm concerned. The other side of the coin is mastering a CEO mindset and having the right leadership traits to show up every day how you need to as an entrepreneur. That's the side everybody skips. That's the side most new entrepreneurs miss. And they go, why is this happening? Why is this so hard? Da, 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 da. And then actually, even a lot of them that I've talked to through my launches that I have, my workshops, many of them don't even have plans. They're like, I'm embarrassed to say. I'm like, well, that's the first thing you need to focus on. And then let's get over here, because it's going to get hard, you guys. So you need to have these traits that are going to have you show up every day.
Yeah. Develop the
So,
habits.
yeah. So
Yeah.
there's been valleys, and there still is. Scaling a
Mhm.
business can be difficult.
Yeah. And then
Using your
balancing
voice.
life things that happen too. Like I'm sure
Yes.
there have been, I know in my own life, it seems like anytime my business is like finally scaling, it's like, oh, but a huge life event is like not taking me down, but it feels like it's come to take me down,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, you could, people say, I'm being tested. And I say, well, no, I don't think you're being tested. You're being reflected.
Mm,
That's what I tell my clients, is what that challenge is a reflection of what's going on inside of you right now. So you're not fully at peace yet. You're not fully believing yourself yet. That's why that challenge hit you. And it's there for a reason, because you got to dig a little deeper on your beliefs,
yeah.
because you have to be
And then,
so solid on your beliefs as an entrepreneur.
yeah. And then I'm sure that that converts into your everyday life as well. Like that when you do feel like you're walking in alignment, or you've developed a healthy mindset and you're sustaining
Mm-hmm.
habits, like when
Mm-hmm.
hard things happen, God forbid something happens where there's a diagnosis, or there's,
Mm-hmm.
someone breaks a leg, even, it's like
Mm-hmm.
those things don't actually break you anymore, right? Like it's
No.
a bump in the
Yeah.
road. Yeah, it's something you got to deal with for sure, but it's not going to actually deter you from your purpose,
Right.
because your
And what I
purpose isn't
teach my
found in that.
exactly. And when I teach my clients is this is actually really profound. So write this down if you're listening. The successful entrepreneur gets the concept and. It's
Mm,
not either or. So I have so many women say to me, oh, I just don't have any time. When my daughter goes to college, then I'll do that. Right. Or so for many, it has to be either this or that, or they won't do it. For entrepreneurs, it needs to be and. You can have your daughter break her leg and still have a successful launch. You can have the XYZ life event. I mean, my dad was dying and I launched my business. Did it
right.
go the way I wanted? No. Did I have to do some stuff in the hospital? Yes. But it was an and. I had to modify for sure.
Right.
But when you get and down pat, you can do this and that. And the other thing you said, I think that's really important, is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And when you guys get that concept, you'll start seeing, oh my gosh, okay, this is showing up in all areas of my life, good and bad, to your point. So if you show up in discipline and drive and have consistency in your business, and maybe you can only devote 2 hours a day to building your business, as long as you do that every day from Monday to Friday or whatever works for you, and keep consistent, You're shown how you do one thing is how you do everything. And you're right. When you work on one thing, it starts filtering out to every area of your life. So
Totally.
that's what people go, oh my God, I have so much I have to change. And where do I start? Just start on one thing. And
Yeah.
if you show up who you need to be on that one thing, you'll show up in all other areas of your life the same way.
Yeah.
And then people go, oh
Uh,
my God, Julie, I'm having quantum leaps. My relationship with my husband is so much better. And I've lost 30 pounds. And yeah, because they're working on their business,
yeah.
because it's a leadership trait that they're showing up as, and they start doing it in all areas of their life.
Yeah. And then it's like that snowball effect, right? Like where
Yeah.
you get a little bit of momentum and then you gain a little bit more and then you gain a little bit more. And I think that that's a really important thing to highlight here too, is like you do have to be okay with it being a process. Like at the beginning, you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
be able. I know for me, I was so frustrated because I would join coaching groups or I'd join things and I'd be like, oh my gosh, like there's so much that I have to do right now. And I like,
Mm-hmm.
like it would make my
Yeah.
brain
And then you
freeze.
do nothing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was totally paralyzed by inaction simply
Mm-hmm.
because I was overwhelmed by the amount of actions I felt like I needed to take. And
Right.
so for me, my biggest shift came when I just chose one thing. My very first thing was making my bed every morning. That's all
Yes.
it was. Making my bed
Huge.
every morning. And then from there, washing my face. Washing
Yeah.
my face 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Like,
Then it becomes a habit, right?
exactly.
You don't have to think
Exactly.
about it anymore. It drops into your subconscious. And it's like, okay, it's like your heart. You don't have to go, oh, is my heart beating? No.
Yeah.
That's how you make things a habit. But the problem is that we're all type A's. We're all ambitious, right? We all want to achieve. So I can
Yeah.
do 10 things at once. I'm going to fix 10 things and then nothing happens.
Yes, exactly.
It's slowing down. It's slowing down. And you think making your bed is a small thing. It is not. It is so fundamental
Mm,
to showing up for yourself every single day.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
just starts that whole process of momentum. And then you put it here, and then you put it here, and then you look back in a year and go, whoa,
That was
what, look how much I've changed. Look how much I've transformed. Look how much I've accomplished.
yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
speaking of that concept of slowing down, you know me and you know how much I love creative processing and
Mm-hmm.
how healing creative processing has been for me because I am a busy-minded individual, as are most entrepreneurs. I have
Mm-hmm.
ADHD and then all the different things, but I believe that creative processing was revealed to me as a
Mm-hmm.
tool to help other people. And all it is simply activating your creative mind to process a certain intention. So we're just pairing creativity with intention so that we can slow down and actually move forward.
Mm-hmm.
One
Mm-hmm.
step at a time. We can take that breath. We can go on that walk. We can give ourselves permission to think about, your next vacation or whatever that thing is that you've been putting off because you're just so in the go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
You shared with me that your primary creative processing methods are journaling, hypno
Yeah.
breath work, which
Yeah.
for those that don't know, hypno breath work is a specialized type of breath work. It's practiced a lot, at least in our network. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Julie, do you have anything to say? Hypno breath work has changed a lot of people's lives. I know that there have been quite a few
Yes.
people who,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, it's changed my life so much. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I think it's so, so important what you do because, again, back to the achievers, the doers, that's all masculine energy,
Mm,
right? Nothing to do
yeah,
with male or female. I've lived in masculine energy for
yeah,
28 years. What you do is feminine energy. And to be an entrepreneur that builds an ease and flow, you need both.
mm-hmm,
You need a balance of feminine energy and
yes,
masculine energy. You can't sit crisscross applesauce all day long and write in your journal.
exactly.
You need to do that, but you also need to go and do effective action every day. You need to
Yeah.
feel the fear and do it anyway. But most people jump the doing is how.
Mm-hmm,
What you do and you teach and the creative processes is the what and the why.
mm-hmm,
And that's the
exactly.
feminine side. That's the right brain, right? Like, and
Yeah.
as soon I tell my clients, I get them to do journal prompts and I say to them, and when we dream, we do vision casting, right? We start with vision casting, and I say, here's your magic wand. If you had all the time, money, and resources in the world, what would you want? Which is actually a very difficult exercise for most
Oh,
women.
yeah.
because we're not even on our list, let alone, I don't know what I want. Are you kidding? I got to get dinner on the table for the
Totally.
kids, right?
Yeah.
So I make them do it and they feel guilt and shame and anger. And I say to them, though, the minute you go to, well, okay, I would love to have $1 million business, but how would I do that? And you go right to the how. As soon as you go to the how, and you know this, Danielle, you cut off all creativity. You've now moved to your left brain.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't be creative when you're worrying about the how.
And
But we're
that's why
taught to go to the how, right? That's what our school system
exactly.
teaches us.
And that's why intention is so key. I heard something earlier this year about how the difference between intention and goals, and how intention is like, oh gosh, I used an analogy in the first episode of the season and now I can't even remember it, but I believe it was something like the intention is like the goalpost and the goal is like the ball going through it. And it's like, you can meet your intention very easily, as long as what you're doing is you're processing the thing that you're wanting to process. You've achieved your intention. You're moving towards that intention. The goal is the specific, exactly what you were saying, that how am I going to do that? Well, how am I going to make, $10,000 in a month? And then you're, listing all of the logistical steps to meet that goal. But what if the intention was, I want to impact 1,000 lives?
Yeah.
Well, that's an entirely, that keeps you in that feminine space, and it allows you to creatively think about how you're going to impact 1,000 lives. Oh, now I'm excited to create all these graphics. Oh, now I know all of these books that I want to read. Oh, I want to go on a walk on the beach. Like Deirdre Palm Adams was on here. Her creative processing method is walking on the beach. That's how she came up with her children's books. Book ideas.
Mine is in the shower or out in the forest hiking. That's why I said hiking. I used to go all the time with listening to podcasts because I'm multitasking, right? And I'm like zero, just me and the birds now. And the hits you get, the inspirational hits. But yeah, you're talking about the what and the why. That's what intention is. You have to know. How can you go after something if you don't know what you want and why you want it?
Exactly. And unfortunately, a lot of people, and this is not to shame in any way, but a lot of people do that. That's how they start into entrepreneurship. They don't know the why. They don't
know the why. That's why they stop. That's why they stop halfway. That's why they get struggle. That's why they, all of that, right?
Exactly.
And I believe too, again, it's just my belief. People might not agree with me.
That's okay.
We have no business in the how. We do have to take effective action. But if our job is what and why, and the universe's job is the how, you have to be, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, if I could give you one piece of advice, detach from the outcome. Because you go right into the how. Yes, you have to take action. That's not what I'm talking about. But if we get
how
so focused on the goal and like I'm going to do it by this time and did it exactly. What if it's way bigger than you could ever imagine?
Right. Yeah.
The universe could give you 10 times what you want.
Yeah. And it might also ask you to
yourself in.
Right. And for me, I believe you can. I am so open to other people's beliefs. You are allowed to believe any and everything that you want. Created Worthy is a safe space for all beliefs to be heard. I believe in God. You call your divine
I believe in God too. I believe in God for sure. I would say I'm more spiritual than I am religious.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's transitioned over my life, but I'm always open. I love to hear other people's beliefs and where it comes from and all of that. And I mix it all into my blender. But yeah, I just believe very strongly in the power of the universe.
Yes. The power.
God is in my heart.
Yes.
That's me. I'm one with God.
Yes. And I think that God sometimes will, not sometimes, all the time, when we are walking in alignment with the calling he has for us, he will ask and lead our exact steps, that how, in a way we would have never thought of. When we try to think of our own how, that's how we trip ourselves up. We just continue to become stumbling blocks for not only each other, but we're also, affecting the people that we're supposed to be leading and serving.
Right.
And we're not able to serve as well because we're just so caught in our own, like, this is how I have to do it.
But which is control, right? We're trying to control the situation, which we have no control over anything.
Right. But when we
Right?
release that, and that's one thing I love about creative processing, and that was actually a big part of how I began using it, was like, Lord, reveal to me clarity. Like, the purpose of writing is to process clarity. Well, that clarity wasn't coming from me.
Yeah.
That clarity was coming from stillness that I was finally creating time for, so that that next step could be revealed to me. Because if I try to do this in my own accord, in my own effort, I will fail. I will fall. I won't get back up. I will feel defeated. I will feel unworthy. I will go into a depressive hole. And I reject that. I reject that now. And I say, Lord, you come through me. I want to be a vessel of your actions.
I think he's in you always. Yes. I think that he's already there. I think that every answer you seek is already inside you. It's all pre-programmed.
Yep.
And to your point, you need to get still, ask the questions, ask really great questions, because you know what? You can ask God all you want. The answer from God is always yes. Always. God never says no. It's yes. If it's what you want, because here's what I believe too. If you have a thought cross your mind, it's meant for you to pursue that. Otherwise, it never would have crossed your mind. That's God putting the answer. It's through your thoughts, and your thoughts magnetize your life to you. And remember, have you ever had a situation with a really great friend where you think of her and then all of a sudden you get a text from her or she calls?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? People go, oh, isn't that weird? No, that's how it works. Yeah. You think, your thought goes out, she feels it, she texts you. Or vice versa.
That happens to me all the time. And now I encourage people. I'm like, I call those God drops.
Yes.
Where he'll tell me, he'll be like, ooh, text Jess. I'm like, okay. Hey, Jess, praying for you. Hey, Jess, thought of you today. Hope you're doing well. And then inevitably, every single time, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe blah, blah, blah.
I was just thinking of you. Exactly. That's the way it works. And people I would say to people now, why are you so surprised? Trust the process, because he's inside us. Like every question we have, we already have the answer.
Right.
We just have to let it bubble up.
Exactly. Well, Julie, this has been such an incredible conversation. I would love for you to just close us out with letting my listeners know how they can find and connect with you.
Sure.
Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are like, I need to learn more from her. She is.
Yeah. I'd love to connect with your listeners. Yeah. So, the platform that I'm on the most, I'm on them all. You can find me on Instagram. It's at Mrs. Julie Kober. Facebook's Julie Kober. I'm on LinkedIn the most. So you can find me over on LinkedIn. My website is juliekober.com. That's where we have, all the latest and greatest. I have a weekly blog that we do over there. There's freebies, so you can go over there and check us out. And I also have, if they're interested, a free Facebook group. So this is a private community. It's called Free to Be, Build Your Legacy with Julie C. And I can send you the information if you want it. If they'd like to join. We have probably about 1,300 women in there now.
Wow.
And it's a whole mix. Women in corporate, wanting a new job, wanting a promotion, wanting to leave, tons of entrepreneurs. It's basically women going after their dreams.
Yeah.
And so we put a lot in there that's free content for people. So you can join us there if you want. And
we will definitely put that in the show notes. We'll have all of her links in the show
great
notes.
Yeah. Connect with me. I love connecting with women that are wanting something more in their life, knowing they're meant for more and wanting to go after it.
Yes. Well, Julie, I am so grateful to have spent some time with you here today and for your courage and vulnerability to share your story. You are creating a lasting legacy with the wisdom and leadership skills that you are teaching and sharing every day. Continue to show others how to live a life by design, by being all that they have been created to be. You, my friend, are created worthy. Thanks for listening and tuning in to the Created Worthy podcast. I hope that today's show resonated with you, and if it did, can you do me a huge favor and go leave a 5-star review? This helps more listeners find the show and it expands the reach of the stories and concepts that are shared here. All the links and guest information are in the show notes. And if you're on social media, come hang out with me. You can find the Created Worthy podcast on both Instagram and Facebook, or come follow along with my personal IG page, where I just share more about the real, sometimes messy life of your fellow worthy warrior. Can't wait to talk to you soon, friend. And don't forget, we are all created worthy.